Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mobility Outlook Conversations. And we're very pleased this afternoon to have Ravikiran Pothukuchi from Dassault Systèmes as our guest. Ravi is a passionate, aerospace and defense guy, and he's Director Sales, Aerospace and Defense, Marine and Offshore at Dassault Systèmes. He's held this position since January 2017. And we're looking forward to getting some interesting insights on all the work that Dassault Systèmes is doing in the Indian A&D sector. Welcome, Ravi, and thank you for making the time to join us this afternoon.
Thank you so very much, Atul. Pleasure is all mine to meet you again after a month's time. It's always exciting to talk to you. As I said, one of the journalists who has a lot of passion for aerospace and defense. Always good to connect with people who have passion for this industry. Look forward to this interaction very eagerly.
Great. For all those of you watching, we're quite sure this is going to be an interesting interaction. And Ravi, so we'll dive right into the questions that we have for you this afternoon. And the first question is, what are the latest trends in the aerospace and defense sector that Dassault Systèmes observes because you're so closely enmeshed in this aerospace and defense sector?
In fact, as Atul, you must have seen what this sector has undergone last 2.5 years. We have had the COVID massively impacting the sector from the civil standpoint. And that means there are no bookings or orders for the airlines, which means that the production of the civil aircraft has reduced. So all in all, I think this is one of the sectors that has been massively impacted by the COVID pandemic. COVID pandemic had come on top of it. Collectively, it has really impacted the sector as far as civil aerospace is concerned. That meant the production, the orders have come down. That meant the order book has reduced significantly, drastically for most of the airliners. And the production orders have reduced for these companies. Airlines and airports also have been massively impacted. So all in all, last 3 years is the forgettable time for this industry. If I see the analysts' reports and what they're writing, I think it will easily take another 1.5 years, maybe end of 24 is when we will probably, hopefully come back to the pre-COVID times. While the pandemic is probably slowing down, that's the trend that we're seeing, barring some new cases coming up in Russia. But the customer sentiment, the passenger confidence has been severely shaken. Okay, now we have to wait and watch if the passengers, while the business passengers probably have to take up the skies, but these leisure travelers, who also make up to significant proportions of this airline business and airport, aircraft business, will they come back to the scene as much as they used to be before pre-COVID times? So we have to wait and watch, but at least we should get back to 70% of what it used to be pre-COVID times. That's on the civil sector side. Okay, but the reason why I started with that is every challenge gives us an opportunity, right? Yes, this is a challenge, and it has thrown a lot of concerns on the sector. It has put the sector in a bit of a strain, but that also has given an opportunity to revisit the business models, revisit the business processes, get more efficient, get more optimum in what they do. So that is where I think, from the digital standpoint, from Dassault Systems technology standpoint, which is where we come for these aircraft manufacturers, is to how they can optimize their business processes, how they can produce the same output with the same quality at much faster pace and with much lesser cost, right? So the emphasis on becoming more and more leaner in terms of operational expenses, in terms of innovation, right? That has taken the, earlier it used to be one of the things to do. Now it has become the thing to do because organizations are wanting to become more and more efficient, more and more innovative. So what happened? This challenge certainly has put the sector under strain, but it certainly has opened the innovation gates for the sector. And what are all the trends that are coming out from this aerospace standpoint? More and more we are hearing about air taxis. As recent as about a few months ago, Airbus has announced their interest in coming up with flying taxis. Okay, which is it's a very conceptual, novel idea which they're experimenting with. And I'm sure you must have heard about a company in US which is also already rolled out one flying taxi. It's in the prototyping and testing concepts. So there is a lot of innovation in terms of changing the whole mobility experience. Okay, from the within the city mobility. That's where flying taxis are coming up. As far as the regular airlines that take people ferry from one town to another town, one city to another city, there there are a lot of technologies in terms of passenger comfort, passenger safety within the cabin. Now, when the passenger comes back, he is concerned about touching any surface. So the HEPA filters that we're hearing, there are so many technological advancements that these airlines are looking at and aircraft manufacturers are looking at, which they want to ensure in the design stage itself, so that the aircrafts are readily prepared for any such pandemic in future. So you don't have to reconfigure the aircraft. The aircrafts are designed in anticipation of such pandemics, in anticipation of the impacts such pandemics would have on the passenger travel. So there is a lot that's happening on the drawing board, and that's where they are looking at our technologies in kind of coming out with new configurations, new concepts. And we have seen an uptick, certainly, from that design and innovation front as one trend from the civil airline standpoint. If I talk about, when you typically economically, any sector, when it takes a beating because of passenger confidence, the government step in and they provide a lot of impetus, economic impetus in the other sectors where they invest heavily, which is what we have seen in Indian context as well, that there are a slew of measures that have been announced to spend a lot of spending into defense. Okay, aerospace and defense, they are kind of intertwined, as you know it. While the civil aerospace, there is some concern. There are a lot of investments that are going into defense sector in terms of military aircraft, in terms of military transportation aircraft. You must have heard about the C295, deal, the massive India Airbus Tata deal. So there are so many things that are happening from the defense standpoint. There are a lot of investments that are going into defense front. And what does that mean in terms of the trends is there is a lot of thrust on industry 4.0, manufacturing transformation. How can I become a better manufacturing facility for the world so that I deliver products of quality within much lesser cost and cater to not just to the Indian needs, probably using this as a catapult, become a global supplier for these big aircraft manufacturers. I think that's one uptick that we have seen. So there is a lot of thrust from the defense order book, which is being probably more to PSUs as well, also the private players, getting a lot of fair share in terms of orders. And that's also creating a thriving ecosystem. A lot of MSMEs are now getting orders. So when a big order comes, at the beginning of the year, we have seen Mark 1A program being announced. Now C295. What does these big orders do is it create a vibe, a positive vibe in the overall ecosystem. A defense ecosystem is very critical for this particular industry to be successful. And because of the reasons of the cyclical business and all of that, most of the suppliers don't typically tend to invest in defense business. Okay, they are very, very cautious. They're very, very, very cautious, very guarded in their approach in terms of investing. But this positive trend, okay, this pandemic has kind of given government to invest into these sectors. And that in turn has resulted in creating a positive vibe, a positive momentum in this particular industry, not just at the OEMs level, but also percolating down to the MSMEs level. Those are all the overall trends in terms of the business trends. As I said, whenever there is this business uptick, technology is now goes along business. It's no more an enabler. It is part of the business. It just doesn't enable in creating new innovative products. It's not about coming out new innovative concepts. It's also not just about coming out with the products at a lesser cost with better operational efficiencies. It's also about collaborating better as an ecosystem, right? Coming together as a very close-knit environment so that the data is not getting lost, the information is not getting lost in silos. And that makes the ecosystem more empowered and more enabled. And this is what we are seeing as a technological uptick.
Thank you, Ravi, for those very interesting insights. Would it be fair to say, Ravi, you think that we are currently in the A&D sphere? We're entering an up cycle because we've got these contracts coming in, and this is really going to set off, a chain reaction of growth in the industry?
I totally feel so. I think in my last 18 years, I haven't seen such a massive positive year for Indian defense and aerospace industry. There are two good news that we have had. One is at the beginning of the year we have Mark 1A, then C295, and the best part of these two deals is, unlike the earlier deals that our governments may have signed, there is a lot of indigenization thrust here. Okay. Earlier, probably we were buying aircrafts in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and probably till 90s. 2000s, we have started this offsets program. And then now there is a lot of thrust in indigenization. How many components are we sourcing locally? The local content emphasis means it's no more just an aircraft bought or a tank bought or something like that. Any uh, decision is going to have, as you rightly said, a massive chain reaction throughout the ecosystem, because you need such a large ecosystem to be able to cater to these kind of needs. We're talking about 83 aircrafts, Mark 1A. We're talking about almost 40 odd aircrafts for C295, right? And the numbers are going to swell. So, as you know, these are all massive aircrafts. It's not just the kind of supply chain that you need is massive. That means there is certainly a chain reaction, but that also comes with some responsibilities to the ecosystem. Okay, they cannot anymore continue with the traditional methods of doing things. They have to radically change. I would like to emphasize the word radically, because unlike the automotive industry, the aerospace industry has been a laggard in terms of adopting new technologies in terms of manufacturing. There is a visible evidence if you go to a shop floor of an automotive industry versus a shop floor of a aerospace industry. Okay, and now the new companies, the new players in this domain are really changing that perception, and they are coming out with a lot of automation into the space, a lot of technology into the space. When I say technology, it could be industrial Internet of Things, right? Artificial intelligence, robotics, all these things are coming in. Okay, but they're still, as on date, they're still with the who is who of the industry, the big players. Has it percolated down to tier one, tier two, tier three? Not yet, but I'm sure this business opportunity will put money in their pockets, and I'm sure with that they'll also be eager to invest into that. And that is another area of interest, this defense corridors and defense ecosystem. They becoming not just doing the things in a traditional way, but adopting the new ways of doing things, new ways of producing components and subassemblies, so that the cost is minimal and there are efficiencies. And also, most important aspect is the sustainability. Okay, today I think we all have responsibility to our planet in terms of consuming what we consume, and everybody has to put, Dassault Systems has put sustainability at the heart of its everything that we do. In fact, we are collaborating with companies in how do we bring in sustainable materials, how do we reduce the rework by use of virtual twin technologies, right? So I think that is also another, it's not just about cost and profitability anymore. It's also about being responsible to the society and bringing the sustainability measures in whatever they do. And this is what is going to be driving the industry in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you, Ravi. So, let's also explore another topic, which is, in your opinion, how has the emergence of cloud-based solutions from Dassault Systèmes changed your customer preference? What changes are you seeing now that these solutions are available?
Yeah, cloud, the cloud technologies are becoming earlier. There is a bit of a concern on adopting cloud because there are so many concerns in terms of security of the data, confidentiality of the data. No doubt there are many concerns. Despite very well knowing that cloud means the reduced total cost of ownership, right? It's a shared infrastructure, and you don't have to, your capex comes down drastically. You don't have to have overheads in terms of IT, asset management side, right? You don't have to incur the overheads that typically you would end up incurring in an on-premise setup. Those are all the financial benefits of cloud, okay? And we have seen a drastic uptick in the cloud adoption in the new startup companies, drone ecosystem, for example. Most of the drone companies are seriously considering this cloud environments. So is with the space ecosystem. Space is also, there are so many startups who are seriously pursuing cloud as an option. But that's probably not yet prevalent in the defense standpoint, for obvious reasons, because defense, the kind of products that we produce are of highest confidentiality and secrecy, and the validation of cloud. It is about them taking that step or decision to whether to go on a public cloud or not. We are having conversations with some of the customers to create a private cloud, so that it is not a publicly shared data, it is privately created for them themselves. There are some regulations in terms of ITAR and all of that. There are a lot of things that have to be sorted out from the defense standpoint before we see an uptick in from the defense sector in the cloud adoption. That's the only concern we see in the cloud. Otherwise, the cloud adoption from the startup standpoint, be it a space sector, be it the drone sector, or probably be it the ecosystem who are just supplying some components, the tier 2, tier 3, where they're just getting the drawings and delivering some components. So that ecosystem is also adopting the cloud environments. So no doubt, cloud is going to radically redefine the space, and it significantly brings down the cost, needless to say that. Also, it gives the flexibility. In technology, one of the biggest things I think a lot of people miss out is the obsolescence. Okay, you see, mobile phone gets updated every year, but whereas software is concerned, people use it just because the cost involved in upgrading is so much, right? They hold on to it for 3-4 years and then they upgrade. What cloud brings is to take out that headache, right? Because with cloud, everything is the updates and upgrades done, carried out, remotely by a different team, taking out all the pains and concerns of the customers. So what's happening? You are getting the technology, the most upgraded technology, at much lesser capex. So it is the benefit on both sides. I don't think with these benefits, somebody should shy away from cloud. The only concern could be the confidentiality aspects as far as defense is concerned.
You touched upon the drone and the space sector. Ravi, would it be fair to say that that's a natural extension for Dassault Systèmes products, from A&D to drone and space? So this could be a big emerging opportunity for your company?
Absolutely. I think probably it's as if you're part of our strategy meetings and you got to know what we are focusing on. Drone sector is no doubt a critical sector for us for two reasons. One, the volume with which it's going to grow, the potential that this market has. One, okay. Any business obviously looks at the business side of it, the scalability, the potential of it. One, and two, the technology plays a significant role in drones. Very simple reason is that the whole aircraft architecture is now kind of brought into a small sizes. Okay, you see a bigger aircraft, it has landing gear, it has everything, and you have to accomplish all these tasks in a small sizes now. That means the complexity is now manifold as compared to a bigger aircraft. You have to accomplish all those tasks in a very small sizes. So when the complexity is manifold and it is kind of multifold, then the technology plays a significant role. That's one point. Second point, as far as drones is concerned, drones typically, I have seen this trend happening, is that they create a platform. What I mean by platform is, you don't create different drones for different applications. You create a platform, and then the same platform, just by configurability aspect, it could be used for agricultural activities, spraying pesticides. The same drone platform, if you remove the payload aspect and put a camera on top of it, it can be used in an entertainment drone shot capture kind of a thing. So how do I create one platform but leverage it for multiple applications? So the configurability of a platform and use it in multiple applications. It could be civilian, it could be military, it could be geo satellite imagery. The drone imagery and entertainment purposes. It could be agricultural activities. It could be mining activities. The applications of drones are multifold, but you cannot create drones for so many applications. So create one platform and leverage it for various applications, and that's where technology plays a significant role again. So this is one reason why drones is a big sector for us. Two reasons. One, there is a scalability dimension that we're looking for. And then there is a clear need of technology that is ascertained, right? These are the two reasons we're looking at drones as one of the sectors. Coming to space, I think space in India is probably getting revolutionized, with the slew of announcement by the government as recent as about 2 weeks ago. Honorable Prime Minister Modi talking about the lot of bringing a lot of changes in the space. We have seen this NSIL, which is a commercial arm of ISRO, which is doing a lot of activities, encouraging the private participation. You take in space, which is led by Mr. Pawan Goenka, who is a veteran who has been there in this industry for many years. So under the leadership of these great minds, and also there is a lot of buzz in terms of space activity. You must have heard about Bellatrix, Agnicool. There are so many startup companies that have come in the space, offering the launch services, offering many other services at a much lesser cost, probably becoming a go-to point, for not just Indian satellites, global satellites. ISRO has proved it once, by launching almost 100 odd satellites in one go. So I think that's certainly one space where we see a potential for growth. At the same time, in the space in one of the conferences also, I did speak that we cater to the overall market of space globally. The launch service is only about 5 to 6%. And our significant potential is only in the launch services. Whereas there are so many other services, the ground station services, the data application services. How do we leverage the data? How do we monetize the data? If a satellite is there, put on the space, all we are offering is how to put it on the space. But once the data is coming out, how to monetize the data? I think even in that domain, we should get into, and there are a lot of startups that are coming in that space as well. There is a company that's called Sat Search, which is offering with interesting companies that have come out, and I'm really excited in the innovation that's happening in this particular sector. So space and drones are no doubt because of the potential that they have, because of the interest from the private and startup community to explore and exploit this particular sector. That means there is a lot of buzz, there are a lot of investments, right? Which is clearly indicating a positive trend of dynamic from these sectors. So this is the time to probably capitalize on the trend and get into these sectors, make our space in that sectors. So certainly these two sectors are of our interest for the next 5 years.
Right. So Ravi, we'd like to move on to understanding the offerings that you have for tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, and also smaller SMEs who are now coming along and will grow in size in the coming years.
Yeah. So again, thanks a lot for that question, because I was focusing more on the business side, and then I thought of bringing it up earlier. Good that you have this leading question. So what we have done is, unlike other organizations or many other technology providers, what we do is we call our technology 3D experience platform, which is a platform that offers a unified user experience. When I say unified user experience, it could be a finance guy, it could be a marketing guy, it could be a engineer, it could be a manager, it could be probably a shop floor supervisor, right? It could be a shop floor engineer who is executing, who is doing those tasks, like the blue collar job holders, right? So everybody will have the similar user experience. So that means what we are trying to do, we are creating one common language differential. When they see the same screen, same way of icons, same commands, it becomes more and more easier to collaborate and communicate across the functions, across the disciplines, and across the hierarchy as well. So that's very important. This is what that's why we put a lot of emphasis on collaboration. And collaboration doesn't come when we have so many ways of talking to each other. So we have to unify that experience for all the users. That's one. And secondly, it offers very rich applications. When I say very rich applications, they're very functionally deep. You take a composite design of an airframe wing, right? It takes a lot of techniques, methods. How do you drape it? A lot of things that go inside draping simulation. Composites is a very expensive affair, and you have to get it first time right. So these simulations play a significant role. So we have these multidisciplinary dimensions into our apps. Composites, we have dedicated applications. Sheet metal, we have dedicated applications. And you're doing something to do with your other electrical harness design, other modeling side. When it comes to manufacturing, right? How do you interface with your machines? How do you ensure that the plant capacity utilization is optimum? Okay. How do you predictively assess an upcoming breakdown and maintain those machines so that your plant is at any given point of time is working at its maximum capacity? Okay, these are all industry 4.0 techniques. How do you ensure that the execution is smooth? How do you ensure that the right people are applied on the right jobs and doing the right things, and they have the right resources and processes at any given point of time? So technology has an immense role, right? So one is that unified user experience, and then giving so many applications configured for each function, each user based on their role, their responsibility. That's the second thing. And then that is our 3D experience platform. But it's not just about giving a technology layer. What we do is we have encapsulated our industry solution experiences. And when I say industry solution experiences, having been collaborated with the Boeing and Airbus and many other global organizations, there is a lot of knowledge and know-how that we have captured. I take a lot of pride that our genesis as a software company has begun from an aviation company, right? So aerospace is in our blood, in our DNA, you can call it, and we take a lot of pride in that, and we get the know-how knowledge that we have captured, we have learned from interacting with these people, and try to improve our solutions. When I say improve our solution, it's not just about functional capabilities; it's also about the process. If you are creating a program, aircraft program, what are all the typical things that you should consider? There is a nice workflow, readily usable workflow for the customers. That's what we call it as program excellence, a solution experience, which will help any company that is coming up with a program, right? And then like this, co-design to target. How do you collaboratively design multidisciplinary elements to meet the target specifications and target cost? That's what is co-design to target. So these are all our solution experience. When I say solution experiences, the aerospace industry best practices, the aerospace industry processes, workflows are encapsulated on top of a technology. That means these are readily available plug-in processes. You don't have to start from zero. You put it in, and then you have a ready workflow. And probably based on your organization needs, you may have to tweak it here and there, but otherwise you're good to go. Okay. Now coming to the then that is at the OEMs level. Then we have come out with two dedicated solution portfolios for one, MSMEs. We call it as engineered to fly. The idea of MSMEs is that they will not be doing a lot of things. They'll be doing only one thing continuously, repetitively, and perfectly, right? So engineered to fly will have a more toned down version, and it is available both on cloud as well as on premise. It is more stripped down, toned down version of an OEM offering, where they're able to do a bit of composite design activities, sheet metal design. They're able to take it, do the planning and scheduling. They're able to execute it, ensure that the quality measures are adhered to. All of that, the entire process from the basic design, not basic design, the detailed design to almost delivery. Okay, a stripped down version of an OEM offer. That is what we call it as engineered to fly. Then we also have another solution experience. It is a little different for catering to startups, because startups, it's about innovation, it's about ideation. So we call that as reinvent the sky. Okay, reinventing the skies. So these two solutions, engineer to fly and reinvent the sky, vary or differ from the philosophy standpoint. Engineer to fly is about just more of a build to print enabling environment, whereas reinvent the sky, we have a lot of solutions in the ideation stage. How do you create an idea? How do you validate that idea? You come with the conceptual design, you put your physics elements into it, multi-physics elements into it. So there is a lot of emphasis at the concept level in the reinvent the sky. And then you take the same idea downstream, no doubt. But whereas engineer to fly is more about already there is an idea which is kind of validated. It's all about mass producing it. So that's how we have created engineer to fly for MSMEs and reinvent the sky for startups. So these are our solution offerings as far as the entire ecosystem of aerospace is concerned. At the OEM level, we have 3-4 solution experiences. At the MSME level, we have one called engineer to fly. for the startups, we have reinvented this.
Great. Thank you for that clear depiction of the solutions that you have. A quick word, Ravi, on sustainability and how you're helping or how you can help companies generate more sustainable products or develop in their own organizations a more sustainable approach.
Yeah. So from the sustainability standpoint, we have 3 dimensions to look at. Okay. One is the people aspect, and the second dimension is the planet, and then the third one is the profitability with an optimum utilization of the resources. I mean, that's important, but without putting much emphasis on profit. Anybody is in business for profit, no doubt, but can they be responsible while being profitable? That's the idea. That means orchestrating higher efficiency, orchestrating higher productivity, faster times to market, all these things. So sustainability, our emphasis is on these 3 dimensions: people, planet, and profitability. Profitability with accountability and responsibility. And when we talk about people, the idea is, what are the biggest concern with people is that how do we empower people? How do we provide them with the right knowledge and know-how, both who interact with the system that we develop and also who develop the system itself. There are 2 kinds of people, people who are part of this ecosystem who will be contributing to the development of these products, be it aircraft, be it defense products and all of that. So they have to be enabled with the right technologies, right knowledge and know-how. So why? Because the only way we can sustain innovation is by enabling people, enabling young minds. That's what we call it as workforce of the future, right? So that we can inspire many, many innovations in the aerospace. And when it comes to planet, as I said, the virtual twin technologies significantly help in reduce the rework, reduce the scrap. You are able to validate your concepts in the virtual world. That means you're not spending as many prototypes in the physical world, which means you're not wasting a lot of effort. You're not wasting a lot of materials, a lot of time, and the cost that is involved in putting all these pieces together, right? I'll take an example. Few years ago, if you have to get a car certified or an aircraft certified, you have to do so many physical tests, physical things. That means there is and those tests, the component that are put under those tests are obviously invalidated. You cannot use them further. They are put in the test and they're wasted, right? You take crash test as an example in the cars. Now with the virtual technologies, I'm not saying that the physical tests are done away with. You still have to do some of the physical tests to more confidently validate it. And I'm sure there will be a time when there are no physical tests needed, and that time is very near. But the number of iterations of physical tests have come drastically down thanks to virtual twin technologies. That means we are not only contributing to the profitability and cost dimension of the organizations, but we are also immensely contributing to the optimum utilization of the resources. If I'm not producing so many prototypes, means I'm not using so many natural resources. I'm not probably consuming as much water. I'm not using as much of electricity. See, these are all the automatic gain sides from the sustainability standpoint, right? So sustainability is at the core of whatever we do. And there are so many measures. In fact, when somebody is designing a component, there are so many input points that are given to him. And there's a lot of work that's undergoing in the R&D as to tell him what kind of consumption from the materials it will undergo, or what kind of energy efficiencies that probably it would have to consume to be able to deliver that particular product. So there are so many other data points that we're giving to our customers so that they are becoming more and more sustainable by becoming by becoming more accountable in consuming the natural resources and being responsible to the planet. That's the planet side. On the profit side, as I said again, we are bringing, by virtue of so many technologies, better planning, better scheduling, better execution technologies. We are bringing the efficiencies, productivity, and all of that, which means that the profitability is guaranteed, and thereby giving the confidence to the organizations not to not to adopt any unsustainable ways of doing business. So these are the 3 dimensions that we're contributing to sustainability.
Ravi, thank you for all these very many interesting insights that you've shared with us. It's really been a very informative Q&A session that we've had this afternoon. Thank you for your time once again. I look forward to having another interaction with you soon. We'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon.